Hey guys, welcome back to another fantastic episode of the Killer Comic Show. I can't believe it's already 4 episodes in. I hope you've all been enjoying it. I know we've got some of the regulars in the chat. So hello Tom, hey Hydra Collectibles. I was just checking you out on the bargain bin battles. Tom, you've got my vote on this, mate. All the Wolverine comics that are coming out. But this week, if you've bought some comics this week, it's been absolutely fantastic. Some of the comics that have come out have been sublime. I have to be honest. The four or five comics myself and my guest will be discussing tonight are really enjoyable. So without further ado, I am just going to bring on the man himself. Now, he is a close friend of mine. When I first started the Instagram and the YouTube thing, he was there. I'd reach out to him for advice and stuff like that. So I thought it was only telling that I bring him on, and it is all the way from the United States. It's the one and only John Comics with Kids. Hey John.
Good, man. That
was good, mate. You?
Oh, that was amazing. I feel like I need you every time I go anywhere.
I can be your wingman. I can be your hype man. I'll come on. I'll run alongside you when you're doing your runs. You can do this, John. You can do it.
Absolutely.
So how's things anyway? How you been?
Hydra says, I want the girls to be there too. They're relaxing and reading, and they're listening right here.
They are listening. They've been on camera already. Hydra, you missed it. They was loving my Loki pop, and
as I say, all you needed was a Loki pop, and you got him.
That was it. But I was just saying, it's been probably one of the. It wasn't a very hyped about week. I think the main comic that everyone was hyping about was probably Venom 27, with the key collector leaking. The whole, I don't know, are we going to do spoilers on this show? Or?
Codex, right? Codex.
Yeah, the whole Codex thing and stuff like that. But I mean, I was thinking about it, and he's not the only person that leaks stuff. Do you know what I mean? And it's kind of like, he's just been pulled up about it. Donny Cates himself has turned around and said, yeah, I'm gonna sort this. But all publicity is good publicity in my eyes.
Right. I know that Donnie is a big fan of publicity, and he is a publicity machine.
And I wouldn't be surprised if he kind of just put that to the side. What's that, John? Following you now, John, on Insta, not actually stalking. Well, you never know.
I'm good with stalkers as well. It was a really good week. I felt like I got 7 new books and I enjoyed all of them. There were some that I loved and some that I thought were pretty good, but none that I was disappointed with.
We've had the approvals to do spoilers. So anyone joining in the chat now, this is going to be spoilers galore. So if you haven't read Alienated number 5, Venom 27, 7 Secrets, or something is killing the children, then I suggest you switch off, read the comics, and then watch us on the replay.
Yeah, I mean, I've been a Boom Studios fan for a little while now, and this was a great week for them. I mean, they had a lot of good quality stuff this week.
I mean, as we're on the topic of Boom Studios, we might as well just start with Alienated number 5. I think it's Boom. I mean, I have had to go all digital this week because my LCS, A Place in Space, they didn't receive their orders. They didn't receive anything. They only started processing them yesterday. So unfortunately, I've had to, by other ways and means, I've had to go digital so this show could go ahead.
Right.
So, I mean, for people out there that haven't read Alienated 5, do you want to just give them a brief overview?
Yeah, absolutely. For me, I will say right off the bat, I'm a Boom Studios fan, and this might be my favorite Boom Studios book. I think it really and that's about as high praise as I can give it. You have a story around some teenagers, 3 particular, all sharing versions of the name Sam, and not really friends or knowing each other all that well. And one day they stumble across, I guess we can call it an alien/robot, a creature. He's kind of there in the corner of the screen grab there. You can see him. And he links them all in an unusual kind of way. And the series follows the ways in which it affects and changes these 3 teens and the way that it's affecting the alien and all the issues of being a teenager in the modern era.
I mean, I would definitely, I totally agree with you. And the first thing I'm going to say is that this is probably one of the most important teenage comic books out there at the moment. And I would honestly say it should be read by all. I mean, obviously there are some bits in it that are a bit out there and a bit maybe are aimed at the older generation of teenagers and adults and stuff like that. But this is definitely a great book because it deals with issues that are quite taboo. Do you know what I mean? Like mental illness and stuff like that. So I just thought it was just great. And the telling part of it is that the three Sams are all tied together through this alien.
Right. And you mentioned it really well, like the idea of sort of, I guess, taboo issues of mental illness and the challenges of being a teenager. I got issues as one of my homies, and yeah, thanks for coming, buddy. Obviously the teen suicide is a huge part of it. Teen pregnancy is a huge part of it. The caustic effect of social media, social media fame and celebrity. There's a ton of great meat here for this comic to really dissect, and Spurrier does an amazing job of diving into all of it.
I mean, 100%. I mean, I've been singing the praises of this comic since issue 1, and it just seems to have gone from strength to strength consistently. I mean, the partnership of Spurrier and Wild Goose are just, it's probably within Boom Studios, it's probably one of the best partnerships I've seen in a long time. They just kind of seem to work flawlessly together. They get everything, and it's just, I think we mentioned it just before. I mean, there's one issue to go.
Yeah.
And I'm very intrigued to see how it goes. I mean, is there going to be follow-ons? I mean, this could open up into 3 separate comics of the 3 separate Sams of how they go on after the events of Alienated. Do you see what I mean? I mean, that's quite interesting.
Yeah, I'd be fascinated to hear if they want to continue it and where do they imagine it following the creature or other creatures. Do they imagine it following the teens? There's a lot of ways this comic could go, but the truth is I just want a 6th issue that finishes the story, wraps up this arc. I don't imagine that everybody's going to be in a happy place at the end because it is that kind of a story. But I knew when I read issue, I think it was 3, was the one about teen pregnancy, and I was like, this comic is amazing.
Yeah.
That issue blew my mind.
Yeah, and I think the way that this issue starts, it started with the fact that you think it's going to be all nice and it's going to be a really nice issue to read, and then from the start to when it ends, it's kind of like, because he was looking, I think if we just switch, I think if it was here, so obviously if you've been reading the previous issues, you will know that one of the Sams is a big follower of this YouTuber who keeps it real, gives the people what they want, and he's gone for this audition up against this other guy, and unfortunately he gets an email, or I think it's a text message on his phone that says, "You didn't make it, better luck next time." And it kind of goes, there is he. So he's sitting there and he's waiting around and he's looking at the phone thinking, I didn't get the job. This is really, really unfair. And then he kind of takes a call from his mum, who's obviously the police officer who's looking into all the murders and the suspiciousness that's been happening. And so from here, I thought, this is going to be great. He's moved to a new town. He's become one of a 3 that don't know what they're doing. They're dealing with this alien. It's all connected through their minds. And then he takes this call from his mum and he's like, "Mum, we haven't really spoken. You've been working, etc. I'd love to meet up with you for lunch." And it kind of, she shuts him down like, "I'm on a shift." So for me, I was like, it's really close to home, because there are people out there that deal with these issues, want to spend time with their parents, and they get shut down like that. And then they have to turn to another void. And in this case, it's an alien.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that idea that an empty space in a teenager, which let's be honest, teenagers have infinite empty spaces.
Yeah.
There's always voids trying to be filled because they're growing so quickly. And so you have these 3 teens, and they're filling, it's how they fill those holes in themselves, metaphorically. This alien is trying to help them. You have the girl who had a child that she had to give up, and watching how that her connection to the alien brings her to facing that. Or you have the boy who has all this self-doubt and is considering suicide, and what the alien pushes him to consider. And at this point, it's hard to view the alien as evil or good. It's just being infected by whatever they are giving it.
Yeah.
And it's trying to interact and connect socially with them, but they are also disjointed. It's hard.
And I mean, it is about the emotional journey that these three kids go on. And I think it's safe to say that in this issue, I mean, every single issue has kind of ended on a cliffhanger that at the start of the next issue jumps straight into it and deals with it straight away. But this one is kind of like the issues of the three kids. It comes to a head in a real serious way. And I mean, from the start of this comic where you think it was going to be okay to when you get to the end to what happens, I think even this Sam is kind of like, what the hell have I done? I've kind of opened up. He's become something that he didn't want to become while trying to rein it back in.
Yeah.
It was insane. It was just, it's probably one of the best comics that I've read because it's so relevant.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, it really does help with the art and the colors.
Right. The color work has always been consistently unusual and kind of interesting. The way they use the aliens' powers to alter space and time and communicate with one another. They speak telepathically because of the alien. They are all sort of inside of each other's head. One of the things they did in the early issues that they do a little bit less in the later ones is using color-coded dialogue boxes so that you can see that when the writing is in blue, it's this Sam, and when it's in red, it's this Sam, and seeing that communication is kind of a cool way to use color for story purpose. I will say this issue also, I think, more than the other ones, really had like huge twists for me. Yeah. I don't want to spoil necessarily all those reveals, but the ways that it peels back the curtain on social media, specifically like YouTube and Instagram and some of those kind of things, I thought as an adult, I'm obviously using these devices, but I could easily see the caustic nature for a kid.
Yeah, and the manipulative of the actual business. Do you know what I mean? And I think one of the big issues of the last one was obviously the self-harming of one of the Sams, because I think the interesting thing about this is that all three Sams use the alien in a different way.
Yes.
And in a roundabout way, they're all dealing with the same issue. So the female Sam, she was dealing with the teenage pregnancy with the baby that she had to give up. And she manages to, I think where she had the baby and she lost it, I think she not only lost the baby, but she lost the love of her life, because that was the only person that really found her real, and she thought she had something with him. And then to give up the baby and to lose him as well, she used the alien to get her revenge on him. And then it was kind of like the Nightmare on Elm Street, the three Christmases where it's the ghost of Christmas past,
right?
Because she goes back, and if this was the ghost of Christmas future, because she goes to see where the baby is now. And then you've got the other male Sam who's dealing with the issues of his father, because I think is it his father's moved on, he's got another family now. And
you mentioned Dickens, and I think there's a Dickensian quality to the story in general, just in the sense of like not escaping your past and yourself and being in your own way, and for a lot of things. And I definitely liked how they each utilized the alien for different things, but you can even see the alien evolving. So like the alien that she uses in the third issue is so much more innocent. And she takes it to the verge of killing and then comes back from there, but she's fed it something. And then of course, in the next issue with Suicide, we're now dealing with death again. And now it's fed to a point where it's much bigger. It's sort of hanging on him. It's that monkey on your back metaphor kind of thing going on in this image here. And it's feeding on fame or Instagram celebrity or whatever you want to call it, and then jealousy. There's a huge topic of jealousy going on here, and powerful.
I think this is the point here, isn't it? As you said, like the monkey in the back, it's kind of giving him that supernatural vibe that he can achieve anything, can do anything.
Yeah.
It's false in a way, because as the story goes on, we kind of understand that the alien doesn't even want to be a part of, he doesn't want to be a pawn in this game. He's basically just latched onto these three to get back to his home because he's constantly screaming. And I think if we go to, where is it? It's this part.
I think this is the first issue where we really get info about the creature. I think up until now, the first 4 issues are about the kids. This one just adds that extra layer that I think is clearly setting up a final issue where we're going to get more info about the creature.
Yeah. And I mean, I think we just literally, like, I've got issues that said, as much as I love YouTube and Instagram, I can acknowledge them world would probably be a better place without them. And they're especially dangerous for young people because of the way they teach them to see life. I have to agree. I have to agree with him.
Absolutely.
I mean, and I think this comic does a lot to highlight that, especially in the scenes coming up of where he kind of meets his idol. He's not what he wants him to be. He doesn't think he should be doing what he's doing. And then before we know it, it all tailspins into a world, and he kind of takes his anger out for not getting the role of being this YouTube sensation because the carnival has come to town, and we end up with.
And if we go back, I love the way they start warping the art. Yeah. I mean, you look at those the panels here. The buildings are warping. Every time and space are warping, and then the bottom. There's 5 panels across the bottom, but instead of being gridded like they were before, now they're all tilted, and they're being like drawn towards a focal point. It's really cool.
Yeah, and the way it just ends like here.
Yeah,
the way he just it's kind of like, now are these? You might know this, but do you think these people are dying, or are they just going into an alternative reality where the alien is, and all the screaming that the alien's doing isn't actually the aliens, it's actually these missed characters?
I would hope they're not dead, but I can't imagine that they're alive. You know, it's like, you know, I'm a positive person in general, and so I would have that hope, but knowing and loving this comic, it's not going to end well. So I would imagine that they are not alive anymore.
Yeah.
But if that creature had the power to destroy, it might have the power to create. I don't know. Just nobody has fed it those things, you know?
Mm-hmm. I mean, I just think like this, he's obviously, so this Sam we're looking at now, he was the one that the comic started with, and it was all kind of him. So his backstory is kind of, he wants to be this YouTube sensation. He looks up to this guy called Waxy, and he just wants to keep things real in this town that he's just moved to, where his mum's the copper. They're always moving around. He latches on to another Sam, and they find a female Sam. So they're all kind of, I wouldn't say delinquents in school, but they're all kind of the out crowd. They're not part of the it crowd. They're all kind of off to the side, and they kind of form this friendship while they're walking through the woods. And what I did find interesting about this issue, John, is that every time you look at this Sam, the alien is attached to him.
Yeah.
Now, even in the previous issues, the alien's either been sitting beside him, or he's been under the bed, or he's been sitting beside one of the characters and stuff like that. I thought this was really telling, because this is kind of like constantly throughout the whole story is just showing this Sam's mental state.
Yeah, the parasitic or symbiotic or attachment, right? Yeah. All those elements, for sure.
And I think this was a really nice panel about where the Sam, like one of the Sams is kind of having like this enactment where he's like, I need to clear my head. I need to get rid of this. I realise what the alien wants now. He doesn't want to be a part of this. He didn't want to be a pawn in our game. He just wants to get home. And these two, for me, they seem to be the two closest Sams. The other Sam is just kind of is off doing his own thing, and this one here was the telling part for me that kind of, in a nutshell, put everything about social media together.
Well, I think it's a wonder. There's so many layers to this sequence that I liked. Besides the finale of it, where you're just like, oh wow, like there's so many little great twists and moments in this bit, but I think it does highlight, like you're saying, the where two of the Sams are, where this Sam is psychologically or mentally, and the fact that they're connected, but yet also in very different emotional, psychological places. And this Sam clearly has a lot more to work through, despite the fact the other two have had trauma in their life.
And it was this. I think these last three images here. So like you've got that one, and that one. When he goes to take the helmet off, I was like, this isn't as easy as it's going to be. There's going to be something. I mean, this Wax is made a living out of wearing his helmet. You've never seen him without it, because in the UK we've got this graffiti artist called Banksy. And you must have heard of him. So he's literally known as this invisible graffiti artist that goes around doing, and no one knows what he looks like. And as soon as his mask comes off and we see him, the whole facade of who he is and everything that he does is gone.
Yeah.
So the fact that this Waxy has never taken off his mask, you think, right, is this persona he wants to keep, or is there something to do with the mask itself?
Right.
And then we find out that.
I love those little panels, by the way, where it's like the writing in between. That's not
here.
fair. Or the deep breath behind him. There's lots of the uses of the lettering is actually really kind of beautifully artistic as well.
And and these bits on the side here that are just literally, they take up a space of a panel, but they're just, And it was just this part here, this whole thing here, the microphones in the helmet, man.
Right.
He's literally he wanted to be this massive YouTube sensation. We rise up, and then at the last moment, at the last hurdle, he's fallen and he's just blown his one shot. Yeah. And he's just killed his hero in the making of doing it. And
it's wonderfully telling as well that how the three Sams are all different, that two of them find a way to break through their trauma with the alien.
Yeah.
But it's like this Sam sinks deeper.
Yeah.
You know?
And I feel sorry for him, but he's kind of like, he's brought it on himself, because I think he's the only one that's kind of blocked out the other two Sams through the what's that word you said you struggled with it earlier? What is it? Telekinesis. That's the one.
Yeah.
With the telekinesis.
Yeah.
He's the only one that's kind of blocked them out, not wanting them to hear. But then it flips over because they start doing it to him.
Yeah.
When he realizes that how much he's messed up and that he can't do it and he needs to find this chip, it's only when the other Sam finally thinks, right, we need to clear the air. We need to get this. One Sam is coming clean to this Sam's mum, who's the copper, and the other Sam's like leading Chip back to obviously where he needs to be. And it's only when Sam starts panicking that he's made a mistake that he thinks, I need to get Chip back. I need to kind of rectify.
Yeah.
And then I was all hopeful. I was like, yep, he's going to rectify this. He's going to be all right. And then on the next page, he literally switches again, and the betrayal, the all alone, and the rage, all these feelings that all three of them that have experienced at one point through this story all come back into this panel here, and it all becomes about Sam again. And and I think this is the first time we've seen a violent reaction towards the alien.
Yeah.
Which is quite telling as well.
Well, and I think, you mentioned, how they all are dealing with the same emotions and things. But what I think the difference is how the previous two Sams took ownership of their place and their problems. There was a little bit of like, I am to blame for a certain portion of this. I can control a certain portion of this. And that gave them a power over it.
Yeah.
Whereas the other Sam is still feeling very victimized and is still acting like it's happening to me versus I'm causing X, Y, or Z. I think that mentality has not set in for this Sam yet. And he is very much trying to control everything because he feels like it's all happening to him.
But do you think in this one here, do you think that this panel here is kind of going to switch the way that he feels?
I don't know.
Because I think the look in his face here is kind of like he knows that he's gone too far, or does he?
I don't know, man. I there was that. I'm trying to remember the name of the movie, and it might have been Chronicles or something, where it was like about kids who become superheroes, and one of them becomes a horrible villain, and the other two have to stop him. In the end, it feels like that in some ways, where the other two might have to stop that one. I can't decide.
I think overall this it's just been. It's a shame that it's coming to the end. It's a shame that we're 5 issues into it already, because I'm kind of struggling to see how they can leave it on a cliffhanger like this with it being so open, and kind of, I really hope it doesn't all jam back into one issue and it becomes like a whole mix of, we're kind of just trying to cram everything in now because it's the last issue.
Right. I mean, everything's been so well paced up to now that I have a lot of hope. And I do love that Boom Studios has done, we're going to talk about Something's Killing the Children. And that's like an ongoing that feels like it could go on for a long time, maybe as long as they want, versus something like Strange Skies over East Berlin, which I thought was amazing. And they just did 4 issues and they told their story and it's done. And I could see Alienated going either way, but it feels more like a contained story with an end point, and that we're building to that climax in this next issue.
Yeah, I just hope it is. I think it. Hopefully, it ties all the characters to the end.
Yeah,
we get to find out all about them, and they live happily ever after.
I have a lot of hope for it. It's been a joy to read. So I'm very hopeful.
It has. So, I mean, what should we do next? Is it Something Killing the Children, Venom 27, or we've also got 7 Secrets? You choose.
Let's do another Boom Studios. Was there one you want to do? What do you want?
We can do. Should we do Something is Killing the Children?
Sounds great to me.
All right, cool. Let me just get the one up from here. Right, there we go. So we have. Oh no, where's it gone? There we go. So if you haven't read it already, I am going to get this underway by saying that this is probably one of the best horror comics out there at the moment, and that has been released in quite a while. And in my opinion, it's going to take something goddamn serious to beat that.
That's a fair statement. And I will also say, I don't read a lot of horror comics.
Yeah.
And what I love about this one is the characterization of the heroes. The protagonists are really well played out, and I think Erica is awesome. I mean, she's iconic, and she's only had 9 issues. I feel like there's a she's got all of that girl with the dragon tattoo, or a Tomb Raider, or whatever, like all those great female icon qualities, but wrapped in a really young kid who's still kind of figuring out how to do what she can do. And the visual look of her is clearly been well thought out.
Yeah.
The backstory for her, I think the slow burn on her backstory is one of my favorite parts of this book, that they don't just spill the beans on it. It's been a slow burn. And this issue, I'm ready to call it. This is her origin story.
Yeah, 100%. I've made a note here saying this is the origin of Erica. Yeah.
If this character becomes huge and this comic becomes huge, they make a movie or a show or whatever. This is issue 9 is her origin story. It's awesome.
I have to say that the color work in this issue is exceptional. It is. I mean, it's just. The whole thing about this story, like I picked up each issue, so I've got every issue, and a few issues, I think it was issue 4 and issue 7, kind of blew up. It was, for some reason, they kind of blew up. But I also picked up the trade paperback, which was from issues 1 to 7 as well, because I wanted to read it as a whole. I've read the comics, but I wanted to read it as a whole. I'm kind of strange like that. I'll pick it up and then read it as the trade paperback while I've got the comics going on as well.
I get it.
Yeah, so, and I mean, I only really got into the horror genre because of Hill House Comics, with the likes of Basket Full of Heads, the Lolo Woods, Plunge and stuff like that. So when this came out around the similar time, I think this came out mid-2019, didn't it? Or was it late 2019?
It would have been about 10 months ago, probably.
Yeah. It kind of just blew my mind. I was like, this is incredible, like the way that, and I found similarities between the Erica character and some of the characters from Alienated, whereas they're young, they're trying to be adults, they're trying to deal with issues, and this is just amazing. This is just such a great comic.
So for Chris, I got issues. He's saying, I haven't read either of these. I'm lost. Here, let me give you the synopsis. I'll give you the short version of
Go for it, John.
He's Killing the Children. you have a small town where a boy at the beginning of the first issue is found with, like, covered in blood, and there's been an accident, and he's getting blamed for what happened. Nobody knows where the kids he was with went. There's just blood everywhere.
This is the kid on the screen right about now, isn't it? This is
And he has some memories, but he can't piece it together. And then Erica shows up, this unusual blonde girl. In fact, when we first meet her, she's coming out of the woods covered in blood and meeting another little injured kid and telling them everything's good. I killed it, whatever it is. So Erica, there she is. Actually, that was the exact page I was going to pull up. Erica is sent by a secret organization that she's connected to, both it seems to be genetically, or at least in some way related to them. And they send her because only kids can see some of these monsters, and she is a monster killer. She's a monster hunter. And the first story arc is her killing the monster. And then the second story arc that we're in now is her realizing that it was a mother and that its children are running rampant now that mom is dead. Yeah. And so she's trying to tie up all these loose ends that were created from that first story arc.
I mean, it kind of, like, for me, it had similarities between Stephen King's It, where only the children could see the entity or whatever it was. But I've got to say, I was more scared than I thought I was going to be when you first get to see what is killing the children. I mean, I think we have a glimpse of it in there.
Those are the little ones.
Those are the little ones.
At the end of issue 5, I think it is, you get a glimpse at the end of issue 5. Issue 6 is the big fight, right? You really get a sense of it, and it's powerful stuff. The drama of it, it's stuff of nightmares for sure. But the way that they slow burn to get to that moment, I thought was really well done. Yeah. And they also slow burn Erica's backstory. And in this issue, you learn where she first encountered some of this stuff. And I will say, I want, as much as I wanted the octopus as a toy, I want a pop of her little octopus thing that always talks to her. Now it's like I need, like, baby Erica, right? Yeah. Like it looks just like her with the one eye covered, and I mean, I love it. I love it.
I just thought it was, and the way that you've kind of, over the last 3 or 4 issues, you've kind of grown with her, so you kind of know, like, one of the people from the Secret Service who come, she kind of just bitch slaps him in the last issue, I think, and she just literally puts him on his ass. Done. See you later. Yeah. I'm going to deal with this on my own, because it kind of seems to be that they're against her.
Yes, there's some infighting with the organization that's been sending her, and she clearly has a separate agenda to what they're doing. And it's creating some tension because she's gonna try to solve it as best she can.
Yeah, and I mean, what I liked about this issue is that it's quite, like, some of them have been gory, but it's done in a way that is quite subtle, if I can say that. Yeah. I mean, at the bottom there, it's not in your face. Well, it's in his chest clearly, but it's not in his face. But but it's done in a way that it gets the point across. It's graphic, but it's not too harrowing that you're like, oh. And
this issue in particular has a lot of violence going on. There have been other ones that were, like, really chill, and you just hear things happening or it's building. This one was action packed, I guess you could say. There was a lot of violence in this particular issue.
And for me, I mean, if you agree with me, it's definitely a book that is difficult to recommend to the younger reader.
Yeah. I mean, younger, obviously my kids are not ready for this, but but for when I'm thinking of, like, you know, kids people in their 20s or late teens, it's like it's exactly what I would have loved in my late teens. Watching Friday the 13th or Nightmare on Elm Street, and then reading something like this would have been right up my alley. Yeah. And I think it's that higher level of horror where it's not just this isn't Halloween 6. This is Halloween 1, right? Yeah, wow, the thought that went into this is really impressive. This guy,
John,
man, he's one of the best people I know in this community, man.
Do you know
Unbelievable.
what? I have to say there's 3 people from the US that have literally helped and guided me on my way. You are one of them, Rod the Rican, and the Comic Jabroni. Like,
Yeah.
you guys, I kind of reached out to you, and then there's like people in the UK. You've got like Comico Dino, Hydra, M3 Lions. We've all kind of come together. And I'm going to say this now: the UK comic community, we're coming for you guys. We're coming for Rod. We're coming for the Comic Jabroni. We're coming for John Comics.
The UK 4 Horsemen.
The UK 4 Horsemen. We're going to set something up. I mean, and then you got Mr. Boswell. He's always there.
Oh, I mean, see Rob's here. Hey, Rob, thanks, man.
He literally just jumped on. So look, Rod's up to the challenge. Just bring it. Just bring it. We will, Rod. I'll tell you what, we will bring it. but I mean, as we were saying, this comic, I mean, for me, I would say it's one where you got to bring the tissues, because this is probably one of the most tear-jerking issues so far.
Yeah. I mean,
is this a 10 issue or is this a 12?
They've been doing. I thought the first storyline went 6 issues, so I thought they were going to do 6 and 6. But maybe I'm remembering, or maybe it was 5, and they're going to do 5 again. I thought it was 6 and 6.
Okay,
I'm not remembering right. I have to find my short box here.
It is very interesting, because I'm definitely with you on this. This is the origin story of
Erica.
That's the one.
Erica Slaughter. Last name the Slaughters.
Yeah, because she becomes. But she was adopted, wasn't she?
It seems like it's like she survived an attack, helped kill the creature, and then found a protector with the same mask that she wears.
Yeah.
Who helped shepherd her along in some way. Yeah.
Which is very telling.
That's her first appearance too. So there's a first appearance.
Which is very telling, because this woman saved
Rob Boswell
Erica.
Says it's 6 issues. So thanks, Rob.
Oh,
no, he says 5.
I mean 5.
You can't change your mind.
See, okay. I thought the trade paperback was the first 1 to 7.
Okay.
So there's something going on there. We need to find out.
Yeah, I mean, I do not feel like the next issue would be the final issue in the story. So maybe they'll do a 6-issue story for the second one, and they'll end at issue 11, because this feels like we're right in the middle. It doesn't feel like we're nearing the end.
Yeah, I mean, because she was introduced, she saved Erica wearing that mask, and in was it issue 1 or was it issue 2 when we first see Erica? I think it was issue 1, wasn't it?
Issue 1, you first see Erica, yeah.
And it's kind of this same picture. It's like a copy and paste picture, but this time it's Erica stands.
One eye with her hair.
Yeah.
It's kind of. Rayman says, "Could it be her from the future?" I mean, they haven't introduced time travel, alternative dimensional anything on this comic, but it's certainly not out of the realm of possibility.
Adam, thanks for joining. Now, John, if you haven't already, right, this is the writer from my last episode. So the comic is called The Secret Protectors. So this is a quality comic. It's about 3 superheroes that have come into the world to deal with this one guy who's dealing with family matters and stuff like that. It is on a Indiegogo campaign, so if you do get a chance, check it out. I think it's the first 3 issues of the comic are available to read on Instagram, of like different page captions and stuff like that. So if you do get a chance, check them out. There are the Secret Protectors, so give them a look. So, but thanks for coming, Adam.
Yeah, thanks.
And for readers out there that don't know it, this is by James Tynion, who's obviously blown up everywhere because of the fantastic Batman run that he's doing at the moment. But this is something totally different for him, and he's a man of many talents.
Yeah. And I what's the other one recently? Was it Wind or was it
It was Wind.
It was Wind, yeah.
It was Wind, yeah. There we go.
Diversity and story. You know, I mean, the guy can do a lot of different things.
Yeah, and it's just adding another string to his bow, isn't it, really? Like, right. I mean, but to be fair, I've got to give credit to Del Edra. I think I'm pronouncing his name right. Del Edra. The art on this and the intensity, the creepy visuals are just it's one thing having a horror novel, having a horror comic like Basket Full of Heads. It was very intense. It was about this one girl dealing with a basket full of heads and how she's going to get revenge. With this, the art goes alongside it. So it's the grainy art, the fine line work, the small captions, the big images and stuff like that. It really draws you in more than any other horror comic on the market at the moment, if I'm being honest. It probably, I think I said to one of the guys that was in the chat earlier, Tom, I said to him, if you haven't read it yet and you haven't read a horror genre comic yet, this is probably the one that you want to jump into straight away.
And you mentioned the color work at the beginning. I think the color and the inking are, I mean, you look at that panel right there, how much black is in the middle panel and how well they use the shadowing and shading, and then all the detail in the colors, whether it's the blood or the green on the wall or the blonde hair, and just really well done.
I mean, I had Ryan Brown on the other week and we was talking about like how he does like acrylics and he does like digital and stuff like that. And he said, no matter how you do it, red will always stand out. And I think if we didn't have the blood splat here, it just looks like any normal image. It doesn't give that impact and it doesn't give that intensity, the creepiness of what has actually happened.
Right.
I mean, could you imagine her without being covered in blood? She kind of just looks like a child that's on her knees with an axe wielding weirdo. But I mean, I think the fact that the way that they've delved into like Erica's haunted past without actually giving too much away and breaking the momentum from the tension of the story that's coming up, I think it was subtly but amazingly done.
Definitely. Yeah, I mean, it's been a book that ever since I read issue 1 has been on my pull list, and I just recently sent my issue 1 Jenny Frison off to get prepped and cleaned because I'm like, you know what? At some point, somebody's going to make the amazing TV show out of this, and that's going to be the book everybody wants. That Jenny Frison cover is amazing.
Yeah, I definitely think this has got Netflix or Amazon Prime written all over it.
Absolutely.
I mean, because they did the same thing with Joe Hill's Lock and Key.
Right.
I don't know if you've watched it, but I kind of got 2 episodes in and I kind of lost interest. I went back to reading the comic.
I read the comic and I was like, it's good. I just didn't love it the same way I love this. And I know, doesn't Netflix have a Boom Studios deal right now, I think?
Yes, it does. Yeah.
Netflix and Boom had made a deal. So a lot of these great books that I'm loving right now, I'm super excited to see what could Netflix do with them. Yeah.
I think it was a comic in particular that Boom Studios have gone all for it out with. And I can't remember what it is. I mentioned it a couple of weeks ago, but it's one that's the first one in the Boom Studios contract that they're going to go live with. I don't know if anyone in the chat knows, but yeah, Boom Studios seem to, for indie comics, they're at the forefront.
Yeah,
they really are. I mean, we had a discussion a couple of weeks ago. Can you really call them indie comics anymore if they're kind of doing what the big players like DC and Marvel should be doing?
I know they're number 4 with a bullet, but they were, I think it was a couple of years ago, they were number 9 or 12. I mean, they really jumped up. But I don't think they're anywhere near Image's level yet.
No. Yeah.
Image is still dominating the market of non-big 2 books.
Yeah.
I would hope that, more great comics is good for everybody. So.
100%. And I think with obviously the unfortunate events happening in DC at the moment, where I think it's 800 people have been made redundant.
Yeah, it's brutal.
I mean, it's kind of like, is that a telling sign for the way that the comic's going to go? Is it going to go? Because I mean, during the lockdown, they did their like digital first and stuff like that. So is that the way that it's going to go?
God, I hope not.
So, I mean, I've only had to go digital this week. I mean, I read digital as well because some of the comics I don't want to get out and read, and I want to get them CGC'd and stuff like that. But I couldn't think of a world with with just digital content.
It would definitely be a letdown, I think, for all of us. I was trying to find, there was another, I mean, we mentioned Strange Skies over East Berlin, and I'm just trying to remember the other Boom Studio book that I'm loving right now, and it's just not coming to my head. There's so many. I mean, I've tried to read every single number 1 that's dropped from them because they're just really a safe buy.
Yeah.
Trying to find it on my Instagram, but I'm not seeing it there either.
It's always the way, isn't it? When you're looking for something, you can never find it. But as soon as you come off the screen, you'll be like,
it's once in the future.
I read, that's the like the kind of Western future thing, isn't it? That is the one?
It's Arthurian legend. So it's King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table, and the idea that that there is evil that is trying to rise King Arthur from the grave and have him take over the world. And so it's like zombie King Arthur. The last issue brought in Merlin. So there's like a zombie Merlin, and they're trying to leave the world of the dead and come to the world of the living. And there's this younger British gentleman and his grandmother who are trying to stop them. And grandma is amazing. She's got sniper rifles, and she's shooting guns and dropping grenades, and she's just like, I mean, just a badass. And
this sounds insane. This, like, I've seen it and I was just like, oh, it's not really my cup of tea, but you've kind of just sold it to me. If that had been the premise of the first comic, I would have just jumped straight to it. But I decided to go with one. It was kind of like this metropolis that was being taken over, and it was down to, I think it's this girl and her dad to save the future. And instead of the city being bought out and taken over, they kind of go against the rebellion. I can't remember what it's called.
Huh. Well, when you find it, hit me up and let me know.
I will do. I've read the first 2 issues and I was like, this is okay. And then it kind of just fell off my radar because the whole Venom and Batman thing kind of blew up.
Exactly. But yeah, there's so many things at Boom right now. It's really awesome.
And I think while we're on this with Boom Studios, and absolutely amazing how something is killing the children, number 9, I think it's only right that we kind of probably jump into 7 Secrets. There we go. I'm just trying
I went with the Inyuk Lee variant. There were a ton of covers for this.
Yeah, I went with this variant because it was the only one that was available digitally.
Right. There's a ton of covers for this run already, and so this is let's see, the art. This is Tom Taylor, who's doing Deceased.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know Danielle Dinuculio. I don't know her, but her artwork is very anime style on this.
This is what I like about it. The fact that it was kind of like the manga and the anime feel about it. It was quite. Yeah. I thought it was very intriguing because I'm not really like a manga lover. I don't really read a lot of manga or watch anime or anything like that. But it was a different angle of it, and I jumped straight to it. I really liked it.
Yeah, I'm not a huge anime manga fan either, and I'm very particular about which ones I've liked and disliked. And so I wasn't as won over by it, but there were definitely the character designs were really cool, and I like that most of all. But every once in a while, I would look at a drawing and be like, I feel like I'm watching a movie, frames from an anime movie that I'm not like. It didn't feel like I was reading a comic as much.
Yeah.
Very pointed features on characters, and So
the 2 main characters, I think they're called Sigurd and is it Eva?
Eva, yeah.
Yeah. And
it's just the villain Eamon, who really looks like an anime villain. I saw him and I'm like, he looks like a villain in any anime movie I've ever seen. I can almost hear the music as he walks in.
As he walks in slowly, yeah. It kind of has that like low-key feel about him, the way that he just swelters in and you know that shit's going to go down.
Definitely.
But I mean, we were talking about the fine line work, and I mean, the lighting and the shadow on this, and I think there he is there.
Yep.
He's kind of like that. Is kind of like a Joker-esque entrance,
isn't it?
For a first appearance, to make an appearance like that. But I mean, as we mentioned again, this is another fantastic one produced by Boom Studios. Tom Taylor, who now here's a question for you: did you prefer the Tom Taylor Deceased? Because I know you're not a lover of Deceased, are you?
No, I'm not. I will say that the Dead Planet is vastly superior to Deceased, the original story. And I'm hearing the same is true about Dark Knight's Metal versus Dark Knight's Death Metal. I'm hearing the same there because but like my attitude is, if they blew it on the first movie, why am I going to go watch the sequel? And it's kind of, and so The only reason I'm still reading Dead Planet is so that I can complain to Perry without feeling like I'm talking out of turn. Like I'm hate buying it right now. And I will say the last issue was the best one I've read of the entire runs of all of it. But yeah, I think the love is overblown a little bit on that. People were like, it's the greatest comic ever made. I'm just like, okay, pump the brakes. Like, let's look at it from a perspective that says, yeah, it's enjoyable as like fluff, but like really, how far is this going?
Yeah.
But this,
I do get you.
Like this premise for Seven Secrets, I think holds a lot of promise, and I like the narration. Reminds me of Saga. For those that are Saga fans, if you've read it, where you have an unborn child basically telling the story at the beginning. And that's Casper, isn't it? The narrative is told from Casper, who's not illegitimate, but he's the forbidden love child of Sigurd and Eva. Yeah. And so that element reminded me of Saga a bunch, and I thought that was a clever use of that plot device and a great way to introduce us to the lead characters in the midst of clearly a very intense moment. So I like the concept of the secrets and the briefcases, and so I think the premise and the setup is really good.
Yeah, because it's basically so. The Seven Secrets is there's 7 ancient weapons that are guarded by this secret society called like the what they call the Order of what are they called
I don't remember.
Is it the Order of the Society or I think they're called the Order of the Seven, and they protect these ancient weapons. And obviously, this story, I think, are Sigurd and Eva the only 2 remaining, or are they protecting the 7th secret? I think they're protecting the 7th secret, aren't they?
Yeah. Well, they're protecting the first secret. That briefcase was the first secret. The one that Sigurd and Eva had was secret number 1.
Okay.
And there's apparently a team guarding all of them, and how they relate to villain power and why the villains want with them is obviously going to be the slow burn mythology that they're building for this comic.
Because it kind of, for me, it has like the whole like Masonic Illuminati feel about it, which I thought was quite intriguing and quite gripping, because I love like all the conspiracy theories and the fact that there's probably these secret societies that rule everything, and there are like we've got the 7 great wonders of the world. Is this? Do you know what I mean? So there's probably secret societies out there doing all of this. I just thought it was the way that it was done and the way that it portrayed these 2 characters from the past coming into the present with the narrative of their child telling it how it is. I just thought for a first issue, Tom Taylor's knocking the ball out of the park again.
Yeah, I mean, I will say, so we're going to read this. I had bought it because we had decided to do this for book club last night. But then we were swamped with the Mainframe Comic-Con coming up this weekend. So we decided we would push it and read it next week. We've read a ton of issue number 1s on that show. I mean, it's been almost 2 years. It's a ton. And this one is definitely way above the average for me. My own, I want to harp on my one concern, which is...
I've got one as well, so we'll see if it's the same.
It might be. It's the core of this comic is built around what's in the briefcase. The core of this comic is what is here that the villains want. What could they possibly do with it? Why are we spending this effort and money protecting it? Is the reveal ever going to live up to what, it's the J.J. Abrams what's in the box kind of thing. JJ always talks about, the briefcase, when you open it, it's not as interesting as when it's closed and you don't know what's in it. And I've seen some movies or shows or comics or books that can use that plot device and make something incredible out of it. And then there's others that the second they reveal what's in the briefcase, the whole thing just falls apart and you're like, this was a waste of my time. So for me, Is this going to be like I will say my favorite example of this is the movie Ronin with Robert De Niro.
Yeah, Ronin. Yeah.
It's like basically an epic car chase movie, all about trying to get the briefcase and what is the briefcase, and they never tell you what's in it.
Yeah.
And they do it so beautifully that you're just like, I like these characters, and I know that they think it's important, so I'm just going to go along with them and enjoy it.
Yeah.
I don't think they can do that here. You can't have 7 briefcases and not be regularly opening one. You know, every trade, every 6 issues, maybe they open a briefcase. You have to. You can't keep them all hidden from us. The bad guy has to get a case at some point and open it. So is the reality of what's in these cases going to be worthy of our $4 each month? That's my big concern. And now maybe it will be. Maybe it'll be incredible, or maybe it'll be a real letdown. That's my worry.
See, that's exactly the same as mine. See, I thought as a first issue, Tom Taylor's done it very well. It's very intriguing. It's very interesting. It opens up like Pandora's box, as you were, to find out what elements, how this story is going to branch out and stuff. But then in parts, I found it to be very vague, and it comes back to the point that you're creating all this hype and everything. I mean, look at this cover. You've got like these 20 or so villains after Sigurd and Eva and the box and the briefcase number 7. Now, is it going to transcend that? In this 7, in this is a key to something else. Do you know what I mean? You don't. That's my biggest thing. They're hyping it up, and for a first issue, don't get me wrong, I loved how the story went, and I'm interested to see how it goes. But is it going to live up to the hype that has already been created in this issue? Are we going to get to it, and then at the end of it, the briefcase 7 opens up and it's a hairband because Eva had her hair cut off when she was a teenager? Do you know what I mean? Like, that's the thing that I don't want to happen.
I love that you and I have the same concern, and so, but it's telling that both of us are so interested and invested in the story and the way it's laid out that we're not bothered by anything happening in the story. We're just worried what could happen later. Is it going to live up to what the promise is here in this issue?
Yeah. And I think
so that's a compliment to Tom Taylor, I think, overall.
And I think being a great writer that Tom Taylor is, there must have been something in his brain that he knew that people were going to talk about that. They're not going to talk about the story specifically. They're going to talk about the end game. Yeah. They're going to talk about what is this all leading up to. Yeah. Because let's be honest, like the Masonic, the Masons, the Illuminati, all these cults, they lead to something. So it is quite telling. I think there's one page in this book where it was, I think it's here, like at the bottom, the 7 secret words, wonders, weapons, and worse, with the power to change the world. Now, is there something in this briefcase that, I mean, because there's 7 symbols there. Yep. I was instantly thinking, right, in each of these briefcases, one of them symbols lies, but when they're all put together, they open up something greater. Yeah. Is it like a key? They all have to lock in together. One person's after this, Eamon's after this, each briefcase to get one piece of that to be able to open up, I don't know, something to another portal. Because I think here it looks like they're entering like a pyramid or
if temple. You look at the symbol on the top there, it looks like 7, which
it looks like a 7
symbol. I don't know which symbol he's trying to open there, which secret he's after.
Because that is the same. That is the same symbol as that, isn't it? There.
I thought that the briefcase that Eva ran off with had the 1 on it, or the I, the Roman numeral 1. Yeah. On the cover, it's different, but the one that she's running
it's this one here, isn't it? There.
Yeah, it's the I, that one.
And she's like, "What are you doing?" But then she says here, "Do you have any idea what happened to Atlantis?" So then you think this briefcase must have been opened before, and the city of Atlantis disappeared.
Yeah, how ancient are these 7 secrets? How long, have they been protected? It's interesting.
And I've got to be honest. I think Tom Taylor's done it in a way that we're talking about 2 of the briefcases here, and I think as the story goes on, are we going to find out that there's like who built the pyramids and stuff like that, because the city of Atlantis is a mythical place. That who built the pyramids is one of the 7 wonders of the world. Does that tie into it? His stuff. It's great.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of room to play here, and it's gonna really just depend on how good his end game is, how big a plan does he have for this, and if you trust Tom Taylor, people who are big Tom Taylor fans, I think will have a lot of faith that he knows where he's going. I might be in the crowd that says I'll buy the trade, or it depends on when issue 2 comes out. Am I buying a bunch that week? Because for me, I'm on the fence, but I do want to know where this is going.
I think I'm exactly the same as you. I think after this issue, it's a great first issue to get into. It's something fresh. It's tapping into something that hasn't really been done as of recently, with like the different aspects of like the cults and stuff like that. But then if it's after the 2nd or 3rd issue, I kind of see it like dragging on, and I'm going to be like, I might just have to wait for the trade paperback. But then I'm like, I can't stay off YouTube, I can't stay off Instagram, and I'm going to find it anyway. So I need to buy them and read them anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
But I mean, overall, I think there's not really much more to say about it other than that it's a first issue. It's intriguing. Tom Taylor smashed it out of the park again. It's clear to see that he does what he does very well. And again, there's all things that tie these 3 comics, the 4 comics that we spoke about together already. And it's kind of like a sense of they've all got the voice of a child in them. So we've got Eva in this one. She's talking about how Casper, her son, was born, and how they had to sacrifice. It was either sacrifice him or sacrifice their job. Yeah. And they decided to keep their job. But then what was really telling was their like guardian. She kind of voted against them. We see her here. She kind of, Tatiana, she kind of voted against them for them keeping their jobs, which was a pretty smooth thing to do, because she was the only one, and she was kind of thinking about the child. She wanted it to carry on. But it was kind of like the secret society. There's no room for faults in this, and if you've messed up, you're going to be punished. And they weren't really, or was they? What's your take on it? I don't think they was punished in the fact that they weren't punished as much as they've punished themselves, because they still had to give up their child.
Yeah, the punishment was clearly psychological, emotional, not anything that was external in any real way. But it's interesting you mentioned kids, because I realize now that all 4 of the books we're talking about today have a kid element, whether it's Dylan and Venom or any of the kids in these other books that we've just mentioned.
Yeah. And we're both dads as well, so it must just be a subliminal message for the comic book creators out there that they're tapping into the dad market.
On, right?
But yeah, so you've literally just mentioned Venom, and I think just to end it on this was another great comic. As I mentioned, I think John's the same as me. I think you're the same as me, mate. I think it's either going to be 1 or 2 issues that we read, or we just jump on the trade paperback.
Yep, exactly.
But overall, it was I enjoyed it. I did really enjoy it. I'm really just annoyed this week I've had to read digital content, because I bet the colours look much better than they do on an iPad for this comic alone.
Yeah, the color work is really good in all 3 of these but I feel like Boom Studios has had that consistency in paper quality and image quality going the whole time.
And then I think if we're going to talk about image quality and color quality, this flows on nicely to, what should we do? I think the last but no means least, it's going to have to be Venom 27. I think I'm just trying to find the stream now. I can't find it. Where is it? There we go.
So because I bought 4 Marvel books this week, I can tell you that Marvel paper quality sucks by comparison to Boom Studios paper quality. The printing, I mean, you can see why books are getting harder and harder to get 9/8 with Marvel, because everything scuffs and rips and.
See, my biggest thing with this, I'm going to show it to you now. My biggest thing with Venom 27 was I didn't understand why he was more blue. I mean, because I think for me, in this coming up here, where is it? Here, where is it? He kind of looks more of a blue Venom than he has done. I think as of late with the comics, since he started, we've known Venom to be black. He's got the alien symbiote opposite suit to Spider-Man, so it's always been black. But with the blue Venom really reminded me of the 90s Venom when he was very blue. So I don't know if they've done that on purpose or it's just a color mismatch like they did with one of the Spider-Man comics where Lizard is blue instead of green.
I think it's very intentional, but I think it's also the challenges of showing depth and a 3D image in it all in black. You know, when they invented that black suit, it looked so cool, but then to show muscles and movement, you've got to now create layers of color when you just have one. And blue allows them to do that. I do think they went overboard maybe a little with it here.
Yeah.
And it's hard to know because this issue for those who don't know, this issue pretty much all takes place in an alternate dimension.
I think is it Earth 16,010 or something.
Do they? Yeah, 1610. You're right.
I mean, because for me, Venom Island.
I was just going to say that because the city has this like crazy psychedelic neon color scheme, I just felt like there was more reflection off of his black than in New York proper. But that was just so I didn't notice it as distinctly until you mentioned it just now, though.
It was just one of the things. Like throughout the whole comic, he's been black, and I was like, he's blue. Why has he gone blue? But then it kind of goes back to like the pop art colors of everything on this page. So I guess throwing in the full black thing is just going to kind of throw it out there. So yeah, it was good. But I was just like, I'm a reader of the Venom from the 90s, and I quite liked how subtle they did it. But I think, as you mentioned, I think they went a tad overboard. Not massively. I mean, it's still quite good, but I think they've gone a bit too overboard. And the fact is that
this is the artist that took over after Bagley finished with Venom Island. So it's possible he's trying to set his fingerprints on it in his way. But yeah, I mean, I thought Bagley did a great job on Venom Island. It's hard to beat the man Stegman. I feel like those, that's Venom's modern look. I think Ryan Stegman is the modern Venom artist now.
Yeah, and I think the fact that he and Donny Cates work so clearly and well together to create this new Venom surge.
Yeah,
I mean, Venom for me as a character, he kind of went missing for a bit, and now he's come back. And with this insurgence from Donny and Ryan, it's probably one of the comic series that I've been looking forward to consistently. Other with this and Batman,
right?
This has been amazing. I mean, I'll be honest, Venom Island for me, I kind of felt it was a bit lackluster. It was kind of, okay, yeah, we're getting to it now, and then obviously now we're in Venom 27 where Virus, Dylan, and Eddie have been sucked in because they meet the Maker, and it all Virus literally smashes up the place. They get sucked into this alternative reality. This issue started so full on for me. I was literally gripped turning over the first page.
Yeah. I mean, this is a modern collector's dream. I think this issue, you have a ton of first appearances. I mean, I don't even know how to count all the characters who's like the first this Captain America, the first this Iron Man, the first there's a ton of them. And then Codex, which everybody's talking about. It's the first full Virus, right? Don't we get like our first full or maybe second full Virus? And it was almost the reveal of who Virus is. Like they were taking his mask off, and then they said, I don't know who this guy is. And that was kind of it. Which sounds like they're going to then tease that into 28. So, and then of course, like you're saying, action packed. Huge bunch of fights at the beginning, and then a huge amount of sort of like villain hero reveals at the end.
This was for me was one of the best fight scenes. This one, and then the one that Virus has with the Ultimate Avengers. I thought it was just the fact that seeing Captain America with the Venom sign on him
Right.
It's just like, that was insane. And the fact is that for a moment, Eddie kind of forgets. I think it's here. Yeah, here it is. Look at this.
Yeah, so you got Thor Venom, Black Widow Venom, Black Panther Venom, Cap Venom, Iron Man Venom, and She-Hulk Venom.
Yeah.
All of them having some kind of symbiote on or connected to them.
Yeah. And the fact is that I was blown away by this. I was like, and you know what I really like about the whole Venom thing is that throughout any comic, throughout any Marvel comic that Thor makes the appearance, you can clearly tell it's Thor by the way that it's written. It's just, even I can't help but read a Thor comic, or even when he makes an appearance, as if I wasn't Asgardian god. I have to read it like that. I just can't. It's like something comes over me and I have to read it as Thor.
Right. It's that we all do that Chris Pratt Endgame or Infinity Gauntlet. You will not take my pod today, sir.
Right. I run this ship. Do you?
Right.
Do you? But I mean, they was all talking about like its Codex first appearance, the full on appearance of Virus. We've got 5 or 6 first full on appearances here.
Yeah.
So, and for me, this was, I mean, Gideon he's done pretty well with the art here. I have to give him that. I mean, and he's created some superheroes with like some new abilities and stuff. Like we've got the Venom on the shield and stuff like that. It kind of looks like the Hydra sign, how Hydra kind of throwback with the black and the white and stuff like that. But I mean, that Captain America suit looks pretty decent, if I'm honest.
There's a fascist element to this universe. I mean, the symbology for Codex on everything, all the heroes wearing the Venom symbiote kind of symbols. There's definitely a overpowering sort of man in the high castle kind of thing going on here.
And you know what I really liked about this is the way that Cates has had Venom, like Eddie and the symbiote tapping into like the internet and dealing with all of this to like work out how he's got there, what's going on and stuff. And again, it's the father-son connection between him and Dylan.
Dylan, yeah.
I think we've hit a home run on this.
there's a couple of flaws that I have in general with the issue, but this page is one of them. Like the drawings are really shoddy on this page for me.
Yeah,
Cap's body seems really out of whack to me. You look at Thor's hand. I don't know what's going on.
I noticed that.
Thor's hand there. So some of the artwork, I was like, it's a little flat or a little off for me. But then that other page that you showed where they're fighting looks amazing. Like that, the artwork on the Virus versus Venom battle. I mean, there's great movement to the background and foreground, the sound, the lettering for the words and the sound effects, really cool. So I went back and forth on this new artist, how I like or dislike some of the style, but the story is hard to deny. I mean, I honestly, I don't think I've picked up any other book for 27 straight issues except this one, since I've been collecting again as an adult. I mean, I think it's pretty much the only comic I've gone 27 straight issues and never really questioned it. There's been a couple times I'm like, oh, I didn't like this issue, but I was never like, I'm going to skip this book now.
You know,
and it's huge praise to Cates, because I've dropped a bunch of his other books. I dropped his Guardians. I was like, nah, I'm not enjoying this. I didn't either. People are mad at me. I read the first issue of his Thor run and I was like, you know what? It's too soon. I'm still a Jason Aaron guy in my heart. I'm not ready for Cates rock and roll Thor yet. Like
that's the same as me. Like with War of the Realms, Jason Aaron and Russell Dalterman, they created something that I wasn't ready to read through. I read the first issue and I was like, I'm not even bothered by it. And it's kind of like, it's really weird because have you been reading Empire?
No, I haven't.
Yeah, see, that kind of is another one that is going down the same road as War of the Realms, but it's kind of like there's so many intermittent parts from it where you got to stop to read this, to read that, to read this. Whereas with the continuation from this, so you had like Absolute Carnage that was tapping in, and then you touch, I think it was issue 21 or issue 20 that was, you had to read War of the Realms to find out what the Battle of New York was when he battles when Noel makes the appearance, so they've got to battle that. But I mean, it kind of just, the continuity of it just flowed much better than this Empire kind of. There's so many out there. There's like Empire X-Men, Empire Avengers, Empire Captain America. It's like I just kind of got bored of it. But with this, under Cates, it has it's the energetic of every issue has just grabbed me. It really has. Like, and this is, as you mentioned, like, I haven't picked up 27 straight issues and thought I'm not going to get this one, and I'm just going to keep picking it up because I want to get the whole story. It's been flawless up until now in certain parts. I mean, I haven't really seen anything else from, I think, is it Gideon, his name, the artist?
Yeah, I don't know that I know. Let's see, Juan Gideon, or Gideon, I don't know which how to say it. I mean, I'm excited to meet somebody that feels the same way about Cates' Thor, in the sense that, like, I'm just ready to. I'm sure it's amazing, and I'm sure I'll read it at some point. But I mean, I read the entire Jason Aaron run. Like I don't own all the issues, and I was never picking them up when they were dropping. So I was catching up to get to War of the Realms. I was reading everything, and it was so amazing to then dive right into War of the Realms and enjoy all of that. And then when it was like Donny Cates is doing Thor, I read issue 1 and I was like, it's perfectly fine, but I'm not ready. I'm not ready. I can't say goodbye to Jason Aaron's world yet.
Do you know what it was like for me? It was like coming out of a long-term relationship and jumping into a new relationship when you're not ready.
Right?
Because I read it and I was like, I love this. And then I read the first and I was like, there was so much hype about it. Like, Donny Cates has jumped on his new Thor, and I was like, I can't cheat on Jason Aaron, man. I can't do it.
I know, I felt the same way.
I can't do it. I'm so sorry.
Somebody else felt the same way. That's hilarious.
I was like, it's.
And I'm sure I will read it and enjoy it at some point. But this Donny Cates, Venom Donny Cates, I think is the pinnacle of what he can do and what he is able to, the stories he's able to tell. Yeah.
I mean, so Stegman, do you think he's going to come back?
Definitely. I think I think he's supposed to draw King in Black, right? So I'm sure we'll see him a bunch in the fall for that. But I'm fairly certain we'll have this storyline leading up to that. Or at least really close to King in Black. Because isn't King in Black November?
November, yeah.
So that means we have September, October, 2 more issues before King in Black. Maybe there's a Venom issue in November before, like prelude to whatever, you know.
I mean, kind of when we get into this comic, like, I for one, in issue 26, when it was Virus's first appearance, I was like, who's this jackass? Like, what is he? He just looks like he looks like a hyped up war machine with a few more guns.
Absolutely.
But I'm starting to like him. I'm starting to think that he could actually be a good character, because I think I'm trying to get to the page now, and I think it's this part, this image here, where he's kind of like, he's been absolutely bashed up by Venom. Yeah. And then it's like Venom goes, right, Dylan, we're going to go now. These new Ultimate Avengers can handle it. And this clip here, this one here of the 2 faces of Captain America and Virus, this, out of the whole thing, I think these 2 panels here, for me, I really like them. I like the color work on them, and I just think, I was really intrigued to find out who Virus was, and to be left with that hanging. I'm like, who could he be? But I think he could be quite a good character, you know. I'm gonna say it.
I'm hopeful for the reveal to be interesting, because I mean they've obviously used armor like Iron Man or War Machine. They've used the glider like Goblin. There's even elements of one of Chris. I got issues in my favorite characters, which is that Agent Venom, who we get at the end there. So I like that design, and I'm hopeful that the reveal of who's in the costume is worthy. And Chris was saying Stegman's coming back. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, he's a talented artist, and I think staying on the pace of Cates is not feasible. So he'll do the big stories in a year, but he can't do the whole 12-issue run or whatever.
No. And I mean, like, this battle scene here, it's like, again, Eddie's like, he's in that turmoil. Does he stay and help, or doesn't he? And then when he does finally leave, he's like, yeah, let these guys battle it out.
And then She-Hulk comes in. I love seeing She-Hulk.
Yeah, there she is with she's probably going for the Hulk Hogan leg drop.
Right.
But I mean,
I got issues, and I are two of the people that I know of that liked Flash Thompson as Agent Venom. I thought that was a cool character, cool design. I loved him as part of the Guardians of the Galaxy. I love all that.
And so you lead on to that, which then leads us on to this. So when they do meet the Agent Venoms, I was kind of like, is it going to be Flash? Is Flash going to make an appearance? Because obviously,
Everybody
was it in the last issue where he made the appearance, or
no?
Where was it issue 25 where Eddie was standing over his grave, and I was like, he's going to make an appearance.
Yeah, it might have been 25 or 26. I don't remember which.
Where the Maker kind of like sends him off and says, right, yeah, we've still got the symbiote, we've still got the capsule with Flash in it.
Yeah.
Because then Eddie takes some of it on, doesn't he?
I don't remember. I'd have to reread.
I think in issue 20. See, I read the last 3 issues again just to keep up. And I think he smashes the capsule with Flash Thompson in it, and he takes on a bit of him, and he's like, oh, and then Flash Thompson turns around and says, can I take control? And Eddie's like, go for it.
Oh yeah. When he's fighting Virus, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
I love that. And this here, it was like the agents in the shadows. I was like, oh my God, is it going to be the one and only Flash Thompson? Now this, for me, Dylan and Venom encountering these Agent Venoms in the sewer. Now, even though this is a spoiler review that we're doing, I don't know if the twist is too good at the end for us to reveal it. What do you reckon?
I feel like this issue got spoiled a ton before it dropped. Everybody knew that it was the Codex was going to be first appearances. Everybody was saying that that you're going to find out who Virus is, and kind of they almost do. But this was a spoiler that nobody really shared. So I don't know. Whatever, it's your show. You do whatever you want. I honestly am not 100% sure I know who this is.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm gonna go for it
at some point. Yeah. Go ahead.
So I'm just going to say, if there's people in the chat that have, for some reason, been living under a stone and haven't read 27 issues of Venom, one, I don't know what the hell you've been doing. You've been in lockdown, so this comic's been available. You should have just sat down when the kids were in bed, had a coffee, had a beer, and read it. and two, if you have, there's a spoiler coming. So you need to make sure that you either close your eyes or leave the chat and watch it on replay after you've read this issue. But I'm going to do it now. This is the first appearance of Codex. There he is. He basically just looks like Noel with a perm.
Noel with a mouth.
It is Noel with a mullet, isn't it?
Yeah.
And then, so this is the scene you were talking about, isn't it? Where they pull off his helmet. And he's like, I ain't got a clue who this guy is. And then we go to Agent Venom. And who is this?
He says Annie, which I am not certain that I know who Annie is.
So you've seen the Venom film, no?
I haven't. No, I skipped the Venom. I heard enough bad things. I was like, you know what? I'm going to skip it. I don't need this.
So Annie is his fiance.
That's what I had assumed. Okay.
Yeah. So she was his fiance, and obviously she ups and leaves him. But I don't remember there being any mention of her in the 27 issues.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, he goes to get Dylan. It's not Dylan's mom, right?
No, I don't think it is.
Yeah. Catch you later, Chris. Thanks for coming by, man.
Yeah, cheers, Chris. But yeah, I don't think, because she's not the one that leaves Dylan on the doorstep with Eddie's dad, is it?
See, that's where I'm at. That's what I'm trying to remember.
See, because I'm going to have to read. I think it was in when do we find it out? Is it issue? I think it's quite at the beginning, isn't it? Like issue 16 or something.
Well, Dylan's first appearance is issue 8, right? Or 9.
Yeah. So I think they build the backstory a bit. I don't remember seeing her in the comic. I don't remember I only know her name as Annie from.
I just checked, and so Google tells me that Dylan Brock's mom is Anne Weying. So that's Dylan X, who is now deceased. So apparently that's who it is. So
we
pieced it all together that this is an alternate timeline, and Annie is still alive, and there you go.
So that is Dylan's mom.
And issues, Chris was saying part of him feels like this Agent Venom that we meet should make its way back to Earth 616. So maybe this could be a way of bringing Annie from this timeline to our timeline.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Well, I'm just glad we figured out who she was, because I was just going on the film premise, because obviously she's a reporter. He hacks her computer, finds out blah blah blah. But so this is that Dylan's first time of seeing his mum.
Apparently, yeah. But does he know? Is he aware? Right?
No.
We don't know his awareness at this point. His awareness level.
Yeah. See, this for me was a bigger reveal than finding out the first appearance of Codex. And I think that's a good way to kind of end the show on that not spoiler review. We just gave a spoiler, and I gave them fair warning. Do you agree with me? I did tell them that if they've been living under a rock and they don't know who Venom is, then they need to just. But I think it's been this for me. Venom 27. And especially Alienated 5 was probably one of the best comics of the week. Then 5 that we've discussed was all great in their own aspects, and the fact that it all tied back to the children.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
which was great.
Absolutely. I hadn't even noticed that all of them had that element to them. That's crazy.
You'd think I planned that, but I only noticed it as we was doing the review, John. So I'm not that intelligent, mate.
Take the credit. Just take the credit.
I will do. But thanks, honestly, John. Thanks for jumping on the show. It's been wicked and
blast, man. This is awesome.
And so, is this the first time you've been on a UK show?
Live, yes. But I was on Hydra Collectibles, spotlight show where he brings YouTubers and then posts it later. But it wasn't a live stream. It was. He recorded a offline, meeting and then posted it. Because I've done a few shows with Luke, around the TV show Lost.
Yeah.
So he and I started. He was my first UK friend in this community, and then it's like little by little, I'm starting to meet like Gray Man and Dino, and it's like before long, you're like, wow.
Yeah, that's it. That's what I said. We're coming for you, man. We are coming for you. But this is technically another first appearance. This is your first ever live UK appearance.
Boom.
So scrap Codex, scrap Anne Weying. We've got John's Comics with Kids first appearance on the Killer Comic Show. How good is that? Like, I'm over the moon with that.
There you go.
That was a spoiler. None of you see that coming. But John, mate, honestly, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on. Thanks for all the continued support and the help. I'll just randomly throw you when I think last year I just threw you a load of messages when you were sitting on in an airport waiting to go to a Comic-Con. But
I love the social side of this community. It's been the best part of making YouTube videos, and so you've been awesome, and man, your channel's been growing like crazy, and so you step it up, man.
But it's all thanks to the advice from you and the little things that you give me here and there. But mate, you're an absolute legend. You're an absolute down to earth, nice guy. You're a dad. I can relate to you. And you know what? You're just a guy who pretends to be a teacher, loves comics, goes for a run, and you're a true gentleman. And the fact that you read comics, you've got 2 fantastic children that love comics as well, and they love Loki as much as I do.
Right.
John, you are a credit to the comic book community in the US, and anytime you want to jump on the show, just let me know. I will always make space for you, mate.
That sounds phenomenal. And hey, at some point, my wife wants us to do a family vacation to UK, so we will hoist a pint at some point.
You can go for it, and the house that I move into, I will make sure I've got a man cave that we can have a pint, have a cup of tea, talk about comics, and why not? But John, thank you very much, mate. It's been an absolute pleasure, and I'll speak to you soon.
Yeah, man.
Cheers, man.